Hi, everyone. Welcome back again. This is Enzo one more time with you. And please welcome Sanjay Nagalia. Hi, what are you?
Good morning, good afternoon, good day, everyone. Thank you, Enzo, for your introduction and for giving us an opportunity to talk about our new and exciting product offering.
Well, first of all, did I pronounce correctly your name? Sanjay, right?
Yes, Sanjay is pretty close. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Right. So where are you sitting, Sanjay?
I'm in my office in Minneapolis, Minnesota,
Right. So
USA.
what time is it over there now?
It's 9:30 a.m., close to 9:30 a.m.
Right. So it's a good time for a coffee and stay on Funnel TV right now. So
Well, I'm on my third cup of coffee actually. So good. It's still going.
right. So really, thanks for joining us. I'm really glad to have one of the co-founder and chief operating officer of one of the most reputable, travel tech company in the hospitality industry, Ideas. And I know that you have some important announcement. Is about a new product launch, right, Sanjay? Would you like to
Yes.
share with us more details about it?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction, and you are being quite kind in talking about ideas. Yes, we are very excited about a new product offering that I'm going to announce at the moment. So, as the leading provider of hotel revenue management software and services, we at Ideas are constantly challenging ourselves, our clients, and our partners, and the industry at large to think over beyond just the guest room. To do that, we ask big, tough questions, and then we put the best and brightest people to work to find the smartest solutions. Rooms is a fairly mature area of the industry in terms of technology development, which makes the gap in capability for other revenue streams even more apparent. And Ideas is going to close this gap. The hotel P&L covers all revenue streams, and to support this, Ideas will provide the means to forecast total revenue in one system. In addition, there are many strategic decisions to make during the forecasting process. This requires extra analysis around sales and marketing strategy, demand, channel, inventory, and Ideas will provide these tools in one stop shop concept. With all that in mind, we've been hard at work, and today I'm excited to announce our latest product innovation, the hotel industry's first ever total revenue forecasting solution, Ideas Ref Plan.
That's fantastic. I mean, I see that around the market there are a lot of leaders startup trying to jump in this vertical, but no one was able so far. Well, at least from what I've seen so far, to connect more kind of ancillary. Can I say correctly ancillary?
Mhm.
Adding this kind of revenue within the room inventory and
Food and beverage, ancillary, but all areas, absolutely.
that's fantastic. So, what was the impetus for Red Plan development?
And I referenced some of them a little bit earlier, but let me highlight a few.
Yeah.
Revenue growth through better strategic decisions, forecast accuracy improvement, and profitability are primary goals for any hotel company. For the past 30 years, Ideas has expanded what's possible for hotel technology and pushed the power of revenue science beyond the guest room. Over the years, we have observed our RMS clients using RMS forecasts as a building block for their room revenue forecasting. We also realized that there was a separate process for budgeting and forecasting handled in Excel. Working side by side with hoteliers, we have grown to understand the challenges they face when it comes to budgeting and forecasting, total revenue, and the level of error that exists, especially on the F&B side.
Okay. So, and how those challenges are going to be fixed by Red Plan? So,
Well, Ideas Rep Plan addresses these challenges by providing highly automated processing power and precision at the optimal level of financial detail. Rep Plan is the vehicle for hotel teams to achieve long desired efficiency through superior automation and optimal workflow. Rep Plan is scoped to be more than a financial forecasting system. It also covers reporting, intelligence, account contracting, and other decision support tools in high demand by sales and revenue teams. And it consolidates and harmonizes data across the entire portfolio, creating one source of truth and empowering leaders to build strategy and formulate tactics around grounded in best business processes.
I see. I see. Look, from my experience, I've been engaged in the revenue management in the past,
Mhm.
and there was an issue always every time I was trying to collect data. There is a lack of data accuracy always in the PMS, and even it is a situation where it's even worse for example in the F&B, right? So how do you see this problem to be fixed? Why is so difficult to get quality data from the F&B, for example?
Well, FNB is not one forecast. It is multiple disparate methodologies are required to complete the full FNB forecast. There are very different operational department types: room service, restaurants, bars, coffee stands, catering and conference services, etc. The opportunity to apply data standards to F&B across the enterprise is very limited. So any system supporting hotel forecasting must be extremely flexible while maintaining integrity. And one of the challenges, the first step in F&B forecasting is to converting the rooms forecast to a guest forecast. While obtaining an accurate split of resident versus non-resident walk-in guests to the outlets is quite challenging.
Yeah.
And the sheer quantity of data required in F&B reporting makes it very difficult to work with the manual environment. This leads to volatility, forecast accuracy issues, and it also impacts profitability. With a detailed, accurate forecast, forward-looking performance analytics which drive strategy, such as RevPAS or revenue per available seat hour or F&B spend per guest, some of these KPIs can be very easily obtained with a few very simple clicks in the system.
Okay, I see. Right. So moving toward profit optimization has always been a high aspiration, no, for the industry. Two important steps to get there are now being tackled by ideas with Replan. So breaking down silos to increase access and visualization of all revenue data, and scientific forecasting with revenue data from all revenue streams. So
Revenue Plan moves ideas into the broader hotel operations community. And we are excited to support food and beverage, finance, and sales and marketing, along with revenue management teams. This wouldn't be possible without the team at Ideas and our valued clients. And I want to especially acknowledge many industry experts that we have first time used in Ideas, who have worked for years and years in revenue management and other levels in the industry, including Heather Ross, Pia, Luca Bazella, Alexi, and uh, others. A big team which is supported by Ideas team to bring this vision to the hotel industry.
okay. In the meantime, I was trying to type some of your contacts. So in this way, if anyone want to know more about Replan, can get in touch on your email, info@ideas.com, right? So if I understood correctly, Replan is a module available on a limited base.
Right now, we are in heavy development, so it is available in a limited basis. We are testing with 3 or 4 lead clients, and once our tests are successful, we will make further announcements on general availability.
Okay. Right. So one more question, last before you leave. Well, you know that wherever we go on social and in a TV, wherever we go now, the buzzword is coronavirus. And of course, by looking at my industry, I see that, especially my country, unfortunately, Italy is one of the most should country for this issue. And I see a lot of hoteliers dropping down rates, trying to do anything is possible to recover something. What are some of your suggestions based on this scenario?
The biggest advice we are giving to our clients is not to panic. And we are also utilizing some of the lessons that we have seen in our historical data from the 2002 SARS virus. and what impact it had on hotels and how quickly it recovered. So we are asking hotels to be patient, make changes in the current environment, so that by making demand adjustments so that the system can adjust prices to bring in the right thing. But as when the demand comes, it will come back quickly, and travel will be back, and we want to be ready to account there. We are currently spending fair amount of time studying the impact on different cities at a time, like not even just in China, in San Francisco, in LA, in Seattle, and look at what we can do to help our clients.
Yeah, I see. I see. Also in US, it start to have a little bit. It's going to be a little issue, right? So, and how you see the behavior of hoteliers over there? I mean, what's the perception in US differently from Europe, where the problem is bigger?
I think everybody is very cautious and watching. There is definitely an impact on some of the coastal cities, especially when the business is coming from the Asia Pacific, and they are seeing business being down. We are helping them with how to manage through the current environment. But mostly in the US, people are kind of watching what's happening, because it's not contained at the moment. So once we see signs of containment, then the actions will be slightly different.
Yeah, yeah, I wish so, and I wish this as soon as possible, honestly. Right, Sanjay. So, anything you would like to add more about RedPlan?
Now we are very, very excited about this offering, and I think it will greatly help all the hotel companies and people at the hotel. And in a lot of way, it could be fairly transformative to be able to forecast and budget your total revenue at a hotel level, and overall reduce the forecast error that you use in planning. So we are very, very excited.
Thank you, and with you. So, guys, once again, if you want to know more about RedPlan, get in touch with the ideas. I just shown on the screen the email info@ideas.com. If you want to get in touch with the ideas people, well, they are very well known people, Klaus and Damiano, Sanjay, and you can get in touch easily with them through LinkedIn. So thanks again for joining us, Sanjay, and looking forward to see you once again on Funnel TV in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Enzo, for giving us this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you, my friend. Bye. Thanks. Right, guys. So it's about 1 hour 41 minutes. We live. That's crazy. I told you guys it's going to be 4 hours until 7. I need a cup of coffee. So let me see if Ryan is ready. I'll try to connect with Ryan.
Hey guys, hiya. You need a cup of coffee. I need my lunch. It's still sat on the side since I picked it up about an hour and a half ago. So I haven't had anything but breakfast this morning. And I'm really looking forward to the beers at the end of today. Cannot wait. Anyway, while you go.
Also, Fiona is there. Can you hear us, Fiona?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Thanks for coming. And I see you are still in the room, Ryan.
Yes. Yeah, so while you go out for a cup of coffee, we're going to talk all things tech. We're going to be looking at integrations and connectivity. We're going to be exploring machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data. And we've got 4 panelists who are going to be joining us. Well, not going to be. They have joined us. In fact, I dragged a couple of them from downstairs up here to be part of this discussion today. So thank you ever so much for joining us at such late notice. So joining us remotely, Fiona from the Hotel Network, right?
Hello, thanks for having me. Great to be here. Sorry I wasn't in Berlin today. I had planned to be, but I cancelled my trip. But it's great to be with the technology today. I can connect remotely.
Excellent. No, it's wonderful that you can actually be here and be part of this conversation. So tell us about the Hotel Network.
So we're a hotel technology company, and basically we help hotels to boost their direct bookings because it's all about personalizing the guest experience. I think a lot of hotels concentrate on personalizing the experience for the guests when they're at the hotel, but you've got to remember that right from the first time the guest comes onto your website, it's important to start personalizing that experience there. So this is what we're working on. We're working with over 5,000 hotels around the world. and we work a lot with machine learning, which is why I'm joining here today.
Excellent, wonderful. And here in the so-called studio, I'm joined by Clemens from Siteminder, Tony from Pace, and Stephen from Sciant. So let's find out a bit about those three companies. Firstly, Clemens.
Cool. Yeah, excited to be here. Who is Siteminder? So we are basically a cloud-based platform that helps you to attract, reach, and convert guests. In essence, our biggest probably known product is the channel manager that basically helps you to connect to a whole range of different distribution channels directly into your hotel software, your PMS. We do also create websites for hotels. We create booking engines. We work with GDS. So there's a whole range when it comes to online distribution. Siteminder is a good company to talk to there.
I must say it's a company that has significantly expanded over the last 10 years, not just from channel management, but into a plethora, as he said, of products, and it now is an Australian unicorn.
That is right. That is right. We're an Australian unicorn. We're working on being an US dollar unicorn as well. So really excited about the last round of funding. Obviously, that's something that is going to be like reinvested in our further growth. Big part of that growth, actually, that is also like pretty much fresh. We now have an office in Berlin, which we just opened. So actually just came over from our office. It's in walking distance over in Spittelmarkt. So obviously, like, we want to grow further, and we also want to cater more even to the DACH market. Hence also us now being present here.
Yeah, because you were meant to have a big office party this week as a launch. Did you have a photocopy already?
A photocopy?
Yeah, well, so, at an office party, we all need a good photocopier because you never know what you might end up with, right?
Fair enough. Party postponed, photocopy work in progress.
Okay, excellent. Let's make sure that we get that in place for the next party. And so tell us about Pace then, Tony.
Well, Pace is a revenue optimization system, a science-based one, which has a very innovative approach to pricing. We help hotels with business intelligence, with analytics, with diagnostics, reporting, revenue displacement analysis, basically analyzing where their demand is increasing in the future and suggesting rate increases where it's possible to capture revenue opportunities.
Excellent. And Stephen, so Sciant, where do you fit in?
So Sciant is a vertically focused IT solutions provider. We work primarily in the travel and hospitality and transportation and logistics spaces. And what we do is we focus on three key areas: systems integration, machine learning, and data analytics. And we feel that this unlocks the potential of our customers' technology stacks to allow them to do bigger and better things.
I mean, this group here is actually quite a coincidence as we start talking about technology and integrations, because Pace works with Sciant and Pace works with Siteminder, and integrations is quite key to your businesses. And we'll get a little bit more of a technical information from that in a moment. Over there with you, Fiona, how important are integrations and connectivity for the business and for the companies that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's critical with everything that we do today and what other hotel tech companies are doing today. Our technology is we help the hotels on their website. So this doesn't replace the booking engine, but it sits a layer of tools that sits on top of the booking engine. So we work closely with the booking engines to integrate our technology with them. And
are you finding that there's more demands when it comes to integrations, or the type of integrations that you need to do? Do you need to be expanding and looking at different partners to connect with?
I think in general, yes, our tool's very, very simple. So it's basically a copy and paste of a code into script. So it's not such an issue, but I worked at ReviewPro before, and sometimes integrations were more critical there. So I think it just depends on what your tool, your technology is. But in general, yes, the hotels want to have like a 360-degree view of their data, and it all has to integrate. Otherwise, it just gets in silos and it's impossible for them to work with.
Yeah, now about 10 years ago, when I was working for Rate Tiger eRevMax, it was all about how many XML connections have you got? And I think that we were always in competition with Siteminder as to where we were with that number. And it went from like just number of connections to having this two-way connectivity. So how much has that played a part in the success for Siteminder and especially around, is it the hotel app store?
Excellent question. So I think that's absolutely key also to our success story, not only to ours. I think like that's helping the whole industry. It's helping for a whole range of new companies to emerge. As Fiona just mentioned, like the silo solutions, like that's the past, right? There's a lot of legacy software out there and legacy systems. It's all about being able to have like 360-degree visibility, being able to measure. Where does the App Store come in? I think that's actually like taking it almost like to the next level already. So done with just integrating to certain channels or integrating to certain property management systems. So when we launched the App Store, the key idea was that although we would like to, we can't do everything. It's a bit of like best of breed approach. Yeah. So when it comes to revenue management, there's amazing systems out there. Yeah? One of them like sitting with us here. When it comes to CRM, there's amazing system out there. So we can't do everything, right? So we basically said, look, why not use the connectivity that we built up over the years, over the last decade, especially with all these PMSs, because that's usually for all the new companies that are emerging, that's quite painful, right? For them to offer their services, they need that connectivity. If they can't access the data that they get through the connectivity, essentially also from the PMSs, their systems won't work properly. So why not use that long-term build connectivity and open that space up, like let other providers in so they don't have to do that work that has already been done, and enable them to access that data via Siteminder Exchange or the Hotel App Store. And ultimately, our customers, like the hotels, all the accommodations, benefit from all of those services, where we know that with this best of breed approach, there is amazing software out there, but it can only really work when they have access to the data. So the Hotel App Store is a step in that direction, opening up the space and leveling the playing field a bit.
And so this is one area that's been a focus really for Pace over the last few years. And as a young company, tell us how important that is and what attention you've been giving it.
Well, integrations are key for us as well. Obviously, commercially, it unlocks markets for us. Perspective from the other side enables hotels to use our technology. They tie up a lot of resources if you have to build them. So we're very happy to have Sciant as a company, basically where we can outsource that work, and we know to have a good partner on our side. I used to work for Snapshot actually, which was all about integrations. They had 20 plus PMS integrations, and actually tried to give exactly that product to the industry. Turned out that there were 10, 15 years too early, and then sort of it broke out into the different PMS app stores and Siteminder. It's generally hugely important, otherwise we can't work. We need to have integrations with the operating systems of our customers. Of course, if you look at the detail, you have to look at the granularity of the data and if it's actually usable for what we need to do with it. But yes, absolutely, hugely important for us.
I mean, that was quite an interesting point you make about unlocking markets. Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Well, yes, there are each national geographic market has its local PMS hero, right? So Israel, Australia, they all have their own PMSs, right? And local heroes. So for us, it's hugely important to be able to work with these systems, so we can approach these hotels, and vice versa from the market's perspective, from the hotel perspective, they get a chance to really look at our product and be, you know, with a view to actually being able to use it. So it's of course there's core markets where we have our core integrations with the PMSs that we work with in our core markets. But as we expand and look into different new markets, we sometimes when we have sort of a commercial situation where we have a new client, a new chain of hotels, a group of hotels that is using a new system, we need someone. We need to act fast, basically, to provide that service for us. And again, Sciant would be the company that we turn to.
Yeah, so I mean, it's in many ways, it's not just a technology connection, but it is marketing. If you are connected to these systems, then you know that you can speak to those hotels, and hotels can get on and start using the products that are connected to their existing systems.
For sure, because they see obviously the integrations and the products on the web page, and so they can actually then proactively from their side approach different service providers and software, because they know that if they actually have one of these cloud-based PMS solutions, it's a switch of a button, a click of a button, and then the data starts flowing into the direction of that tool. And then most of the times, 48 hours later, you can already start using that new tool. That's the magic of the cloud-based PMS world and cloud-based systems in general.
So moving then, therefore, to more technical perspective, the man who builds all these integrations, then there's different ways in which the industry is approaching integrations. So can you tell us about what sort of work that you do with some of the companies, and how you approach connectivity with companies?
Sure, thanks. That's a really good question. So what we do is at Sciant is we integrate a lot of different systems, right? So we do some PMS integrations, we do some CRS integrations, we do CRM integrations, we've done GDS integrations, including ones that are handling billions of shopping requests every single month, and it gives us a nice rounded view of the market. Number one, and number two, if I'm just use Pace for an example. They're going to write an Opera PMS interface exactly one time if they do it themselves, right? Whereas we did a dozen Opera interfaces in the last 6 months. So we're seeing the same systems over and over again, and we're able to understand the best way that the system use cases fit together. And what do I mean by system use cases? So there's an Opera interface called Oxy, Opera Exchange Interface, right? Now, the way that Pace uses it for a revenue management system is you collect a bunch of data on the guests, like around a reservation and what did they spend, which would be called a folio transaction. And then you would basically send pricing back to the system. You also will collect inventory and availability, right? And you'll send pricing back to the system. And that's a typical RMS use case, right? But if you have a group booking system, you'll use the same Opera Oxy interface, but in an entirely different way, because you're probably doing bidirectional block management, you're probably doing bidirectional reservation management, and so on. And we have over 100 hospitality systems integration projects under our belt in the last 4 years. Many, and this is just different systems, not counting the same systems over and over again. So we're able to bring the benefit of that experience to our customers and help them get to market faster, reduce the amount of certification time that they need to be involved with, and so on. So we think it's really a win-win, because it allows our customers to really focus on what they are really good at, which is building revenue management systems that are breaking molds, instead of having to tinker around with why didn't the data come, or why didn't I get that reservation, or why can I not push this rate change.
I mean, this comes down to data again, isn't it? Access to data, having it being able to move around very quickly to be able to do what you want to do with it. Whereas, 10 years ago, we were downloading files from multiple systems and then trying to put them all together into a single spreadsheet. And you basically had to be an Excel specialist. And by George, the types of equations I remember seeing people do was just insane, to try to connect to different sheets in order to try to find the result that they're looking for. Whereas these integrations allow that data to be consolidated into one place, I guess, and pull and push as the system or as the end user, the hotelier, is able to use with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the great things about integrations, is that it's much more pervasive now than it was 10 or 20 years ago. Now, the unique thing about the hospitality industry is that there are almost no standards. Like, some people talk about HDNG, and some people talk, which is a 15-year-old effort as it is now in most of the cases. But ask any hotelier what a group reservation is, and you'll get as many different answers as you have hoteliers in the room, right? So, and then you look at this from the systems point of view, and it's kind of the same thing. So tying everybody together and giving the hotels a kind of a unified view is a really important thing, and is people become smarter with the way that they're using data, and we see CRM systems not only interested in reservations, but they actually are interested in what a wireless access points you, Ryan, were connected to in the different areas of this hotel. Then they're going to know that you spend most of your time in front of the bar, for example, and they're going to want to send you on the spot, coupons or offers to get you to engage more with the service stack in the hotel. And those are I think that's the next 5 or 10 years of the hospitality industry. It's going to be fantastic.
One of the absolutely fascinating stories from Sciant is the Hotel Resbot. It's how you built that platform to not just connect with other systems, being able to access the data, but then read these emails. So Hotel Resbot, it's about how emails that come in requesting bookings that has the dates, and it's all written in an email format. And through machine learning, you've been able to identify what the request is, send that request to the PMS, check that there is the availability and what the rates are, and then send an automated reply to that person to then start confirming the booking, which is, mind-blowing. It's like future science. And so when we start looking, therefore, at machine learning, Fiona, in what way are you looking at machine learning at the hotel network, and how is that going?
Yeah, with the machine learning that we do is very much related to predictability. So it's what we call predictive analytics, where it's basically where we analyze millions of data, then we create algorithms and look for patterns in that data, and then there's an output from that, and which can predict things. So I guess the machine learning, it's whereas a human being can maybe analyze 10, 20, 30 different points of data, we're analyzing hundreds and thousands of different points of data to find these patterns, and then which makes it more accurate for what's going to happen. So we use it specifically, for example, we analyze for website traffic. When the traffic comes onto the website, we can identify low intent users and high intent users. So who are the people that are likely to book? Who are the people that are not likely to book? And then based on that, we can show them personalized messages. So for example, if somebody's a low intent, so there's very unlikely that they're going to book, what you need to do is probably give them some sort of incentive or a nudge to encourage them to make that booking. So it might be a discount or a special offer, 4 nights for the price of 3 or something like this. Whereas if it's a high intent user, the last thing you want to do is to give them a discount, which is going to reduce your ADR. And it's probably the opposite. You want to be able to show them the suites and encourage them to spend more, because it's very probable that they're going to book anyway. So that's how we're using machine learning mainly today at the Hotels Network.
Yeah, so you're really bringing that level of personalization as people are going through that booking process to make sure that you're delivering them the right product at the right time with the right price, and then taking them on that journey to drive that conversion. And is that conversion so that you're speeding up the process, or conversion so that you're trying to increase the revenue or the profit opportunity from the visitors?
There's different axes. And the main thing is to increase the conversion rate. So that's obviously increasing your revenue, because we know that it's pushing up conversion rates by 30-40%. So the traffic that you've already generated through your paid campaigns and all your digital campaigns and everything, you're converting that. So that obviously is improving the ROI of your marketing campaigns. It's also, a lot of it is to do with cost savings. So whereas people would typically do a 10% discount for a promotion across the board so that every single user sees that, we can identify that for the majority of your users, you don't actually need to give that discount. They're going to, so it's also the savings that you make on your marketing promotions and your marketing spend. So there's different combinations.
So really taking that tailored approach to each booking as well. And so a lot of the companies that are really well on the hotel app are starting to use machine learning. And what sort of conversations do you have with some of your partners, or even hoteliers around their concept of machine learning, and where we see things are this year, the next couple of years? I mean, is this something that's going to be a little bit more difficult to latch onto, even though we might be using the Alexas?
Yeah, good question. To be honest with you, I think machine learning, it's a real buzzword, right? And what really stands behind it, you're gonna get a lot of different ideas depending of whom you talk to. I think the main question that usually comes down to is like, how can this actually be made useful, and how can you generate something out of it? And it's true, like a lot of our partners are like looking into this, and they're actually finding different ways of making machine learning work for them. I think like and I think it was already mentioned this round, like we're just at the very beginning of this, right? It's actually amazing of the ideas, and just like imagining like what is possible, like with being able to analyze so many data points. So like we can only imagine all these great services that will be a result of that, which ultimately will have to be something that benefits the guest, right? Otherwise there's no point. Or if you look into the B2B area, like make the life of a hotelier easier, increase the bottom line, save time, make something more efficient. So that's what it ultimately will lead to. Now there's a myriad of ways how to approach it, limited only by our imagination.
I mean, yeah, I mean, for me, what it comes down to is I don't know anything about this sort of technology, by the way. People talk to me about it and I find it fascinating, and I just retell stories. So don't expect me to be any expert here. But for me, it's almost like the internet. If you ask people 20 years ago, what is the internet? We had an idea that it was an information portal. No idea did we think that we'd be downloading apps and be tracking people all the way around the world, or being able to personalize things in the way that we are doing it, let alone being able to have video chats wherever we are. It's the concept of AI, where I'm standing, is as much as you say, what's your imagination and where can you take it? How can you utilize it? So with Pace, currently, how are you approaching AI and machine learning, and how much is that machine learning a real part of your systems?
Well, it's very much part of the system, and that's what sets us apart from other revenue management systems. And I'd use your story. 15 years ago, hotels wouldn't probably have dreamed of a system that would, just by looking at their own transactional data, be able to get so much information out of it to be able to forecast and to predict which days receive an increase in demand, and then should suggest a price and the right price increase. So that's what we do basically. So in a nutshell, Pace in the ramp up time and the learning time, it actually looks at the hotel data, measures price elasticity, looks at a whole range of data points, seasonality, day of the week seasonality, and creates models basically. And these models are being enriched, and this is where machine learning comes in, right? So we close that loop of revenue management where we look at information, we analyze, we forecast, we implement prices, and then we monitor what happens. And then in the old days, that loop actually wasn't a loop. It was just a process that stopped right there. Well, we close that process into a loop where we feed back information of the result. For hotels, it's the pickup that resulted from a certain pricing decision. So the system will get that information back. Did we actually sell with this price as much as we expected we would sell? And if we didn't, the system will adjust that and will incorporate that into its models. And the longer it runs with the system, with the hotel, and the more information that runs to do it, the more accurate and precise it will become. So that's basically how we utilize machine learning. There's, of course, the concept of reinforcement learning as well that we're implementing. And currently, we're working on actually being able to clone certain hotels and revenue management procedures in hotels to be able to show clients and showcase clients, this is how your result if you price it on your own, and this is your result when you let Pace run on autopilot for a month. So actually basically doing an A/B test and being able to visualize the result between their own doings and then letting the system go. So
I mean, machine learning's really starting to filter into all areas of business, and this idea of robotic process automation, of being able to take something from one system, something from another system, being able to process that information and throw it back through those systems again, and then learning on how that can then improve efficiencies and operations within the business, which, you know, the days of downloading different spreadsheets and being able to consolidate them, all that's gone. You just have to make those creative and strategic decisions of what to actually do with that data. But when it comes to actually advising and consulting and developing new machine learning capabilities for different businesses, how are you approaching that, Stephen? Because, I mean, where does a conversation start? Are you often working with techies who really know machine learning and they're excited by actually getting it implemented? Or are you speaking to people who have an idea, an imagination of what they want to achieve, and machine learning is what you use in order to achieve that?
I would say it's more towards the latter. The reason is that if you look at the high demand fields right now in technology, machine learning and AI talent is really the supply is way underneath the demand right now. Okay, so those people know that they can go get a job anywhere, and they can get a job that they really, really like. And so giving them a challenging environment, they're often younger people too that are recently out of university with advanced degrees and so on. So giving them an environment that they like, that changes a lot, that challenges them and so on, is really, really key. And it's exactly the same reason that it's difficult for, say, some hotel companies, for example, and others to be able to retain that talent. So if you have an exciting product that's using machine learning in innovative ways, like the folks at Pays do, then you can find and keep that talent. But if you have exactly, sort of one project that you need to do internally, and then you sort of need to just keep it going for a while afterwards, it may be a lot easier for you just to work with a solution provider that has the machine learning capabilities on the team. The second part of it is really business awareness. So you have to understand what the business actually wants to do with machine learning. What do they want to accomplish? What does the data set look like? And also, what is their take on it? The company A has a certain objective and a certain way that they want to take advantage of machine learning, and it may be the same product as company B, but they have an entirely different approach to it, and you have to account for what's the approach and what's the business objective. So that's an area where when you do machine learning projects over and over again, like we do, we kind of develop a methodology to engage with the customer, tease out, you can hear on the surface what they want, but you really need to tease out, what do you really want? What's really important to you? It's all part of the process of figuring out a way to deliver a successful project.
And as you say, I mean, the hospitality industry in itself, or even travel, because of its peaks and troughs, is quite unique in the types of data that you have to work with, and what needs to be pulled and how it needs to respond. And I guess if we look now more towards, how do you identify the next things to develop? I mean, Fiona, the hotel network, how old is the business now?
It's 5 years old.
Right. And so when you're working and talking to customers, I mean, one of the buzzwords is digital transformation, and that's probably as vast as machine learning, right? So when it comes to working with your hotels, where are they when it comes to looking at the tech stack and either updating their overall IT infrastructure or responding to these new needs of travelers and guests today?
I think it is basically two different areas. I think it depends on the size of the company. So you see that the bigger hotel groups are obviously tend to be much more advanced than, say, a smaller chain or an independent hotel. And then it also depends very much on the market, where you might have markets like the UK and North America who are much more developed. And then there would be certain markets in Asia or elsewhere where it's not the case. So we've seen that the difference depends really on the size of the company and then the markets that they're working in. So when we approach development, it's not so much, we don't sort of start, we have an in-house team of data scientists who are the geeks and the specialists in the whole data side of thing, but we start more by talking with the hotels to understand what are their pain points, what are the challenges they're having today, and then based on that we try to come up with solutions that will help them solve those issues, and then we speak to the data team to tell us to help us find solutions to turn our ideas into things that actually work.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the whole hotel industry, as you say, there's so many different places, hotels are at different places when it comes to transformation.
Totally, yeah.
I mean, I know that Accor and Hyatt and oh my God, who's the other one? Best Western and others have really started to invest as massively as they possibly can do in how they deliver that digital experience. But
actually,
also,
I find sometimes the medium groups are more advanced, because sometimes the bigger groups, they're such huge machines that to actually make changes, it's a much more complicated and long process. And if you have a smaller chain of maybe 50 hotels, they can be much more reactive and much more flexible in adapting new technologies. So I've actually found in the years I've worked in this that it is quite often it's actually the middle-sized chains that are the most innovative.
and you've certainly got more smart hotels now as well, that their whole premise is based on that that technology experience. And so when it comes as well to that Siteminder and that growth and looking at how you can support the hotels as you enter new markets, there are those legacy systems out there. How much is a conversation based around these older systems, or them actually thinking and actually really considering and ask a Siteminder's advice about some of these newer cloud-based systems? Do they have confidence?
Well, it really depends of where they are in their journey towards digitization. So this is probably like a question like very tough to answer in general. So like it highly depends on the market, and then given specific market, like we're in Germany, look at city versus rural, look at of course like size, like how many keys do they have. What we do see, and I tend to agree with that, is like that big chains are big chains, and they just do their own thing. They also try to do a lot of stuff in-house. They would only give that up or like take different directions if really needed. And any provider is bending over backwards to somehow get in business with them. What gets very often overseen, if you think rough estimate, like a million hotels worldwide, out of those, like chains maybe 10 give 20%. So like all the remains, like all those other kinds of accommodations, right? And it comes down to like, the little 1-bedroom apartments that we now can book on Airbnb and all these other like vacation rental platforms that are like growing immensely, but that are being like amazingly under-catered, right? It's like almost nobody cares about those 800,000. Like recently you can see everybody's jumping on a train and everybody's talking about, let's talk about, like short-term rental and the whole sharing economy. The truth is that those entrepreneurs, those hoteliers are often a lot more avant-garde, and they're more willing to try out new things. They are much more likely to be already like, digital natives, or that see the gigantic benefits of just like working smart and using all of those like buzzwords in a functional way that we already mentioned in the course of this conversation. So I would say like a lot of innovation is also coming like bottom up from those smaller providers. And obviously we also like cater, and we are dedicated to that smaller and independent segment, if you will, to those 800,000 properties that need the services and that actually like keen. Same time, just to complete my answer, there is, of course, when you look at rural destinations, there is a lot of legacy systems there, and it's also like this run place like a habit, right? So it worked like this already for the last 20 years. Why should I change, right? And that's like, that's very early days in the conversation still, as they know that there's systems out there, but that change process of them adapting to something new, that can take a very long time and can take a lot of effort. And although basically they tend to agree with you, making the actual change is still another step to go.
Yeah, I mean, Airbnb definitely disrupted the market, and we're seeing that with the purchase of Hotel Tonight. What's that going to mean to hotels? But also that it was a brand new system. I worked at HomeAway at the same time that Airbnb was becoming a massively strong. HomeAway was trying to move to a single platform. Airbnb had already created the platform. And I've been to a few short stay shows in the last year, and the technologies, they've got channel managers, they've got revenue management systems, they've got all these door locks and integrated technologies, and you're thinking, but you're just a 1-bedroom apartment. How do you have all this? This is insane. And, we look at PACE, revenue management systems. I mean, they're really relatively new for hotels. I mean, they were a part of other systems, but now you're seeing them really come up as a distinctive system unto itself. And so how is that understanding of what revenue management optimization platforms are and how hoteliers are getting their heads around the need for that?
Well, there's generally in the industry, it's mind-blowing how little hotels actually are using technology for forecasting demand and for pricing. But the ones that do actually have been using it for a while. It's just that it's gotten more accessible with the new tools that are on the market. And tools like PACE are very easy to implement. They're very light solutions. It takes 48 hours with some cloud-based PMSs, and then you got it up and running. So that makes it much easier to start working with an RMS. Now, that obviously changes when you look at legacy systems, right? It takes longer to integrate with them, to activate the connections. It's costlier. So we see a lot of new projects that are coming onto the market, and new hotel groups that are coming onto the market to look at cloud-based PMS technology right away, not so much for the sake of operational efficiency, but also with the goal of enhancing the guest experience, because they have a goal of automating a lot of things, and that's only possible in a cloud-based environment because of the integrations and that they have with periphery systems out there. So we see a clear dynamic, but absolutely, you're also right. We also see a lot of hotels that are just not ready. And if they are getting ready and thinking about it, it's for scaling reasons, because they want to grow and increase their size, the number of properties. And that is much easier, obviously, with systems like Muse and Apaleo, where you can simply clone a hotel and then create a new one. Whereas if you have a legacy system, it takes you a couple of months to wait for a license, probably. Yeah.
And so, Stephen, you also deploy some technologies within hotel environments. And, is that a challenge? Are you dealing with really old infrastructures that need this specialist attention? And this is why they can't do it themselves. So, I mean, you've been in the industry for a while, so you've obviously seen the maturation of the tech stack. So, do you think that they're moving fast enough, or they really need a bit of a kick of the butt? Kick up their ass. I'm losing words after broadcasting for a couple of hours.
That's a really good question, and I'm going to have to think carefully about how to answer this one. But I remember doing a project a few years ago, and it was an on-premise PMS, and I'm not going to name the company, but it had been 5 years since PCI was enacted. The payment card industry standards about things that you're not supposed to do, like, wave a guest credit card number and photocopy it and, stick it on the wall behind your desk and stuff like that. And yet we were working on a non-PCI compliant PMS that was deployed at a major European hotel group. And the owner just would rather pay the fines and pay the increased transaction costs than actually spend the upgrade, because it was like a couple million euros just to upgrade a handful of hotels, right? So there is a lot of that in the industry. And I think that one of the things that is really cool about the new cloud environments is that they do take a lot of this pain away. You don't have to worry about the upgrade. Everything is just upgraded on its own. But there's also a lot of process transition that has to come into place to do that. The PMS is a core part of the operations of a hotel, and there's a big leap of faith in, because if that internet connection were to go down during morning checkout, you would have a lot of problems. Getting back to the point that you made about what are the challenges of taking access and so on to an on-property system and doing an installation or doing maintenance or something, the environmental issues are very real. So if you have a PMS that's running on a 10-year-old Windows server and it hasn't had an upgrade for a while, you will have a problem. Whereas the next hotel, maybe they got a new server last year, and it takes you 10% of the time to do the work, right? So that's another plus for the cloud environments. There are always going to be security people that are going to say that if I can't control each and everything, then I don't really want to have it in my stack. So it's a bit of a religious argument in some cases, but I'm confident that legacy stuff, that on-premise stuff is going the way of the dodo. In 10 years, we'll be looking back and going, I can't believe we actually had these.
Wonderful. Yeah, I guess it's also like having a landline. Who would have thought? In fact, I don't even have a cable internet at home. I use a SIM card. It's so good. So yeah, it's all going to be wireless before too long. Fiona, are you still there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can indeed. So any final points or thoughts of advice to hoteliers when it comes to sort of technology and what to be thinking about?
I think it's, as with many things, there's an expression here in Catalonia, which is poc a poc, which means bit by bit. And I think they shouldn't try to transform everything all at once. And it's probably just best to take things bit by bit and to do small tests. A lot of the technology today, as you mentioned, you can do A/B tests. We always do A/B tests with all our new clients, so they can compare exactly what they were achieving before the website was personalized, and then what they were 50% of their traffic see the personalized experience. So I think it's all about doing simple tests, things that they can measure and see how it's performing for them, and then gradually it's integrating things bit by bit and gradually building up their tech stack.
I guess, yeah, because it can be quite terrifying when you have to make this change, especially if you've been using a system for so long. Yeah, no, exactly. But I think that it's also up to the provider it's not only buy a tool off the shelf, but it's also the services that go alongside that to support the hoteliers throughout this change process, and not only to give them the technology, but also give them the best practices, so they can learn from the experience, for example, that we've had with other clients. So it's more than the technology; it's the whole package of the service as well. Excellent. Wonderful. Well, Fiona, I'm sorry you couldn't be here, but you're probably in a safer space. Definitely warmer here anyway. It's definitely warmer. Yeah, we are jealous. It is about 5 degrees here in Berlin. So we're all trying to keep ourselves warm and not be too close to one another. There's been certainly a few elbow bumps today. But thank you ever so much. And guys, thank you ever so much for joining us here. It was great to speak to you all. So back in the studio, we have Enzo.
Hey, man. Can you hear me?
Here in the room, we have Rita. We actually have quite a move to make, I believe. Rita, is that right?
Yeah, rush. Yes, so stay tuned. Enzo is going to play a couple of videos for you to keep you entertained. And I see you in a couple of minutes for the Muse panel. Hoteliers are going to talk about the change in technology and the POC by POC, step by step, right?
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, that's hoteliers as well, which is always nice to hear from the people that we're talking about all afternoon.
Yeah, well, family has cousins, we are all a big family, and that's what most comes across today, that we are coming together. And of course, hoteliers want to contribute as well. So see you in a couple of minutes. We are setting up the session. Enzo, the studio is yours.
Yeah.
Music, because the show must go on.